Oh, give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good, for his mercy endures forever. This is Pastor Free with the weekly Free Rants. Let's get it.
Yeah. What he's done, his blood was for me. He gave his life to set me free.
All right, let's get in it. First of all, I want to thank God for all of you who came to worship with us this past Sunday as a part of our hoodie worship. I was so blessed and so encouraged to see so many people participate and come out rocking your hoodies. But we're going to expound on our rant from last week. We talked about profiling and stereotyping and generalizations. This week, I want to say a word about judging. One of the things that I can't stand about church folk, yep, I said it, I can't stand about church folk, is that church folk can be some of the most judgmentalist folks in the whole wide world. That we love to sit in condemnation and judge other people and condemn them to hell and say they ain't right. And he called himself a preacher, she's supposed to be a deaconess, and think that we can bring out the faults of other people when we've got our own faults and failures. Paul told the Roman church, for all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Now, a lot of us like to rewrite it and make it say, for y'all have sinned. But Paul said, for all have sinned. I'm a part of the all, you a part of the all, and all of us have sinned. Failures, faults, our stuff stinks. The truth of the matter is, they say, people have skeletons in their closet. Most of us have bodies in our closet. That means that there were mistakes that I made today or just yesterday. I'm not perfect. I'm not pure. I'm not clean. And sometimes I like to point out the faults and failures in other people so that other people can't see what's wrong in my life. And so we have people who sit around in condemnation of other people. Those good old church mothers that, I can't believe you done got pregnant out of wedlock. When the reality is, a whole lot of folk forget that, back in 1950 when you had your curves and you was wearing your hot skirts, that your first child was born to John and your second was born to Sam. But because God has given you grace and you spent some time in the church, then we feel like we can judge other people. The problem is that this causes people in the world who need Jesus Christ to not feel comfortable coming into the church because they feel like church people are going to judge them and look down their nose on them. And at the end of the day, we're anti-Christ. We're going counter what Christ's will is for the church because individuals are being driven from Christ instead of being drawn to him because we make ourselves out to be holier than we actually are. In Matthew chapter 7, Jesus addressed this issue. He said, don't judge lest you be judged. Friend, that simply means if you are perfect and you can stand up to God's judgment, then feel free to judge somebody else. But if you know you got some issues, you know that you've fallen, you've made some mistakes, then you have no room to judge anybody else. The same grace that you expect for God to give you in this life is the same grace he extends to those who are broken and hurting and not nearly as perfect as we in the church are. He takes it a step further. He says, how in the world are you going to make an issue out of a speck of wood, a little grain of wood that's in my eye, if you've got a whole log, like a whole tree, like a whole lumber yard coming out of your eye? And many times, friend, the reality is when we look at this world around us, it's easy to try to highlight the faults that are visible in other people. I can't believe that somebody got pregnant out of wedlock. I can't believe she came in church dressed like that. I can't believe that he's sleeping around with everybody in the church. Those are things that you can visibly recognize. But what about the stuff that God knows about your personal life? I can't believe that you lied to get a little increase on your taxes. Got a little raw right there. I can't believe that you're not tithing, which means that every Sunday you coming in with a mask on and holding up a gun to God saying, put them up. Text does say, will a man rob God? But we don't want to judge our faults. We don't want to judge our mistakes. We're too busy trying to point the finger at somebody else. And friend, I want to call our hearts to a place of understanding and grace, to where we understand that if it had not been for the grace and love of God that loved me not because of me, but in spite of me, I wouldn't be where I am today. What if God decided to expose every moment in every week of your life? What if God decided to read your text messages and make them public information? What if God were to follow you around your house with a camera and listen to your cell phone conversations? Would God be pleased? And if you have faults and failures in your own life, then you have no grounds, no room to judge anybody else. Because the truth of the matter is, we're all just sinners saved by the amazing and abundant grace of God. Stop judging. Stop hating. Love God with your whole heart and be grateful that he saved you. Yeah.